Good morning. So, I want to talk about getting above the story of the twin flame journey. There's all sorts of stories that are going on in our during our journey, all sorts of stories that we're telling ourselves, all sorts of stories that we get deep into and we attach to. And as long as we're listening to the stories, where we get caught up in those stories, and that is we get caught up in the loops of the stories that we keep telling ourselves, and what it does is it hinders our progression, our actual going through the process. So if we get stuck in continuously telling ourselves the stories of what is, not only are we holding ourselves apart from the progression, but we are getting stuck in what already was and not being able to see and allow a new story to come in or for the progression of the story to happen. And a way that we can look at this is we get lost in the story and the romanticizing and the awe of the twin flame saga. And as long as we are stuck in, well, I was already there, or I can't, these stories that we tell ourselves, they're small stories, these stories that we don't even really realize that we're telling ourselves, or yeah, and a lot of times with the divine feminine, these stories are going to be a weak story. Stories, well, how am I supposed to cope? I can't get over this, or he did that, or he's stuck, or I keep on, or you get stuck in the synchronicities. You get stuck in, oh, did you see that they did this and I did this? And it's keeping yourself apart. It's holding yourself away from the actual connection. You get stuck in the stories and in the words and in the constraints of your mind. You get stuck in what is, and you keep repeating that story to yourself also with words. When you keep on telling yourself the same story, um, something that has up until now defined who you are and defined the as you see and perceive the twin flame journey, it gets you stuck in those perceptions, and it gets you stuck in those mind loops, and it will stick you in place. It'll keep you looping in place so when you can pull yourself out of the stories. I'm trying to, as I'm speaking, think of an example of this. um, Give me a second. Okay, so a lot of times in these stories, we are the victims of the stories. We can't progress because of, or, or they're over there and I'm over here, and they can't see. They're not looking at it. We are putting the focus on external things, and when we can bring that focus back to ourselves, and we can do the inner work, and we can rise above the stories that we tell ourselves, all of a sudden new stories open up, all of a sudden new existences open up, and you start progressing and um, revive that spiritual awakening. You start progressing and rising and overcoming and becoming something new, and the stories can't confine you anymore. And once you learn how to get over these stories, it's just like learning how it's like learning um, a like a pattern of something, a pattern of behavior. So once you're able to learn how to rise above the stories and recognize the stories, even, then you are able to begin to break free of the stories, and you become, because at our soul level, and this is part of the journey, is combining this soul, because a lot of times we can understand things and we can feel them at the soul level, but the minute that we try to bring them down into the 3D world, we're back in that pain, and we're back in that, well, I don't know what to do. It all becomes mumbo jumbo. And part of this journey is combining those two, combining the spiritual and the physical together, because they are integrated as one. And as we do that, that also integrates the whole twin flame journey is about that, is about bringing the spiritual. It's that yin the yang. It's bringing the masculine and the feminine, the opposing parts, bringing everything into one to where everything comes back into unity. So as long as we're telling ourselves stories of who we are, what our constraints are, why is this happening to me? I can't deal with this. All of those stories that we tell ourselves are not only keeping the story alive and keeping that alive and keeping that in our focus, it's also weakening us into the beliefs that we are not unworthy, that we can't do it, that we are unable. It is keeping that story alive instead of looking at opening options and thinking, wow, if this journey was given to me, I can do it. There's nothing that can be put on your plate that you are not capable of. Everything that is put on your plate, you are capable of. It's finding the how. It's releasing the stories. It's letting go. It's allowing the pain. It's not getting stuck on the stories of who we are, what makes us up, even stories of the ego, like for instance, I have all these talents. I'm so good at this. Look at me. I'm an empath. Those are the exact same thing as the weak stories. They confine you, because if you are just an empath, that's all you are. Whereas everybody that is on this journey, is what I'm realizing, are extraordinary people that have extraordinary gifts, and you can find the constraints, or the my words. You can find that, like, what would be written in the dictionary about these different things, but if you confine it to that, that's all it is. And we are so much more than that, so much more than it has ever been written in words, so much more than you can even express in words. And so it's nice to have those definitions to where you can have a base to understand, and to that gives you some kind of security, but you can't get stuck in those stories, because those stories are very confining. Words are confining. Words are of the 3D world. And the soul is way above anything that can ever be expressed. It's a God essence. It's anything way above anything that can ever be expressed with just words. So we have to start getting out of the stories that we're telling ourselves. Not only the stories that we tell ourselves about the way things are, the way things should be, or the stories that we tell ourselves about the journey, the oh, they're over there and I'm over here, and when are we going to be together? Those stories are also holding you apart from the oneness. You in the beginning, um, you see in the physical aspect, they're over there and I'm over here, you see the separation, but you can always feel them. You have this telepathic connection. You always are thinking about them. You get up in the morning thinking about them, you wake up in the middle of the night, you dream about them. Everything that you do, they are there. And the wisdom of this journey is knowing that they are always going to be there. There is no getting over that. So in the beginning, you're like, but they're there, but they're always on my mind, and part of the progression of the twin flame journey is that they are always going to be there. It's just to quit doing the they're there. Oh, look, but I have to prove it, all of that, being in wonder of it, is holding you apart from it. You have to be it. You have to understand that they're going to be there, and that they are an integrated part of your being now, and learning how to maneuver and become one with them, always there. Their presence is always going to be there. As long as you are always in wonder, oh, they're there. What am I supposed to do? Then you're holding yourself apart from it, and you're looking in from, as if a different vantage point, as if they're separate from you and they are in your space. But when you're able to integrate that, and then it's a knowing. They're always going to be there. They're going to be there when you're doing dishes. They're going to be there when you are making a living. They're going to be there. And when you get to that point of just where it's just combined, and it's not, you're not in shock anymore. and you just are. It's like, then you can add power to power. You have that power with you. Whether they know it or they don't know it, it doesn't matter. You are never alone. Not only are you never alone because you're with God and of God, you are God, an aspect of God, a virtue of God, a interpretation of God, a part of God, inseparable. You also have this other counterpart that is always with you. I mean, if you look at it that way, you can say like, wow, I'm so blessed. I can take that added power and you can take that added energy and then combine it with your own energy and you can move mountains. So it's really forgetting the story, letting go of the story and just being and allowing and surrendering again and again and again and again and again and again, and losing the old 3D stories that told you who you are. Every single one of us that is on this journey is unique and very outstanding within humanity. You have to be, because we are leaders of the way. Every single one of us is so unique that I'm sure that probably uh, very, very many of the twin flames have some kind of label slapped on him, that some kind of mental label slapped on him, because part of the rising and coming into combining those higher realms with the earth are traits that you kind of go, you start shaking your mind, everything, because it's so broad, and to regular society that is trying to fit you into a box that looks like it's unstable, and they don't understand that, or society in a whole, whoever doesn't go through this doesn't understand that it's like you get information and then you have to process it, and you get open to the higher realms and you get all these downloads and then you have to process it, and during that you're breaking free of the constraints of the 3D world, and so everything shakes and it looks like you're losing your mind, but actually what you're doing is you are slowly being able to like waves, processing and doing the inner work. So you get a download and then you have to process it, and it's shaking because it's breaking down the constraints of what you've known until now. So it can look like you're going back and forth, losing your mind, going back and forth, when actually you are, every single time you're getting more downloads, you're rising, getting more downloads, you're rising, getting more downloads, you're rising. And so we really have to let go, because when we get stuck on these stories, stories of who we are, stories of how we're perceived, stories of I have to prove it, I have to prove it. But look, this is happening and this is happening and look at this. That is disbelief. That is you holding yourself apart from believing and relaxing into the journey. Because if you are in awe of something, it's the same as holding yourself apart from it. You're looking at it, like, but look. I understand that that's part of this journey, and that's part of the rising, and that is inseparable from the journey. You have to go through that, because that's the download. That's the, oh, I got something new. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. You have to look at it from the outside, but then you have to be able to integrate it. At some point, it quits being separate from you, and then it just is of you, and you don't have to prove it anymore. You don't have to have um, outside approval for what you know internally. And not only do you know, you don't feel the need to prove it to anybody. Um, and you can teach it from a place of just knowing, and not the need of acceptance or somebody else to understand it, so that to make it real for you. It's already real in yourself. You know it. It comes down into a knowing. Um, so you have to get out of the stories. You have to start telling yourself a new story. You have to accept and move on, accept and move on, integrate, move on. And the quicker that you can do this, and the more that you can do this, the more you're released and the more open you become, and the more you start understanding the processing of doing this. And the more a story comes and you're already above it. You're above it. You're above it as it comes. You already can see it coming, and you're already integrating it as it comes, because the processing of it becomes so natural for you, and you're able to see the patterns and to surrender. Surrendering as an art. You have to be able to surrender and surrender and surrender and surrender again and again and again and again, and slowly rise out of the stories, especially the 3D stories. We have a tendency to get caught in them again and again and again, because this is how we were conditioned. And so we're reconditioning our own selves, and we're the only ones that can do it, because we are the only ones that know exactly how we were conditioned. We're the only ones that can find those stories and pull ourselves out of the stories and make it and believe something new, and believe that all options are open. Everything is wide open for you. So that's that. And then I had a few things that came down, that I had like downloads of different things that came to me, and I just want to kind of go over them. The starting point is always where you're at. So you can never look back and say, why didn't I do it there? The starting point is always at the power point in your life is this moment, this moment, this moment, this moment. There is no other. I mean, you can change everything in an instant. And the starting point for your entire future is now. There is no other point. So the starting point is always where you are at. Whatever circumstances you are at, wherever you are in life, this is the starting point. There is no use in looking backwards and saying, but I was already above this. Why am I falling back into it? First of all, know that whatever you have already processed, and wherever you already were, where you felt like I was above this story, I was already out of it, I was already feeling high and mighty. All of that is an escrow. You have all of that. That is part of your being. It's there. It's just that we get there, and then when we're in the light, more shadows start getting light on them, and then we're thrown back down into the 3D world to do some more work. Something else is found where, oh, there's another spot, and you get like light shined right on it, and then you get thrown right out of heaven back down into earth and go do your work. And then you have to overcome again. So you're not losing anything. It's not like I was there and now I'm not. You still have all of that to your advantage. You still have everything that you've ever done is still within you, and you're still there. It's just that you have more work to do. And the more work that we do, the more painful the separation from that place to here, the bigger the space between heaven and falling. So when we fall out of heaven to go do more work, every single time it hurts more, because first of all, we're getting deeper into the deeper demons. We're getting further into the bigger things, and it's also where we already know what it feels like to, every time we go up into a higher, lower. I know there is no higher, lower, broader, whatever, but you have to use words. But you get into these places that the more you are enlightened, the lighter the feeling. So when you get thrown out, not only do you get thrown down further because you're further inside, further in the pain, you're also way further away from where you're at. So that separation is an internal separation. It's way more painful every single time, because you are already in a knowing of that high place. So the starting point is always where you're at. And everything that you've ever done is in your escrow. You're sitting on it. You have that. Even if you fall down, you already have that. Your old life falls away during the spiritual awakening. Let go and trust. The sooner you can realize this, the quicker you will see the new path. So your old life, a lot of times things start shaking and falling away, and it takes a while for us to even recognize that, oh, like we're still holding on. Wait, when you start feeling fear, you're starting to hold on to your job, you're holding on to the people around you. And the more that you do that, the more the more it starts shaking you, holding yourself in place because you are progressing. So it's like you're being pulled away from something that you're grasping and grasping and grasping in the pain. And once you go, okay, wait a minute, I have to leave that, go into the void so that the new path can. If you're holding on to something and it's filling a space in you, you don't have room for the new to come in. And the minute you let go and you allow yourself to start being pulled away, there's a void in the beginning. You start feeling that there is no absence in the world. So if you let go and a void starts coming in, it will be filled with the new path, but you have to trust and you have to allow and you have to be able to let go of that old. And that comes back to the stories that we tell ourselves. Okay, when you get a message from the universe to give it immediately. Write it down on a piece of paper, put it in Facebook, give it immediately. When you get a message to give, it's flowing through you. Just like this video that I started, it's a message that started coming through and I just turned on the camera. I didn't know exactly what I was going to say, but I knew that what it had to do with, and look where we're at now. And so when you get a message from the universe to give it immediately. It will also free you. The more you give the messages, the more messages come in. You know, God gives you a message. If you hold on to it, you're stopping the flow from more coming. And when you give it, it feels so good. You feel release and you're quit focusing on yourself. When you get a message to give to the world, then you quit that focus on me, oh, poor me. You start flowing, it starts flowing through you, from you, and you feel like you're fulfilling your purpose. And when you're in service, you don't have time to be a victim. When you're in service of others, you don't have time to be a victim. And so you get out, it takes you out of those stories, out of those mind loops. You start feeling like you are progressing. You start feeling like you're in service. You start feeling like there is meaning to your life. It gives you meaning to your life. And not only, and also the more you let flow through you, the more comes through you. It's like in the beginning, if you get like this and you start giving this, it starts broadening because God, whatever, the energy can see a flow and it starts broadening that flow. Just like anything, just like a river starts with a trickle, and if the water has a passage to flow through and doesn't get stuck on the way, then more water will just keep on coming through it, keep on coming through it. We are of this earth. We go by the same laws. There are divine laws, and we abide by those laws. And the more we can get ourselves in sync with those laws, then the more we are at ease. The less we're fighting against. It's when we're fighting against circumstances, fighting against the natural way of things, the natural flow, that's where we're getting stuck on stories or getting stuck on things that we say. Also, our words, the words that we use, especially the words that we use about ourselves, define who we are. If we're telling a story about ourselves and it's a weak story, oh, but I'll never get past this, coming out of your mouth, into your ears, into your subconscious, and you keep that story alive. If you start telling yourself, even physically, tell yourself another story. I am very grateful and humbled and feel blessed to be on this journey of expansion. And thank you, universe, for my counterpart that comes in and reflects to me the places that I need to do work in, and so that I can advance, and so that this life experience can be as a broad and the most meaningful life experience that I can live. And so if you tell yourself even that story, that's way better than I can't deal with this. You just start telling a different story. Start telling it, even if you don't believe it in the beginning, you are reprogramming your mind. If you say it enough times, you're reprogramming your mind. Okay, when you sit on them, okay, that's still part of that same message. Okay, that's all I see right now. I'm still going to do a video about dependencies, about letting go of dependencies on this. I don't know if I'm going to do it today. I'm going to Jerusalem in a little while. I'm getting ready now, packing. Um, Today is the 31st of October, and we are going to go to Rachel's tomb, which is tonight, which is amazing. So sending you guys so much love. Thank you. This was going to be such a short video, and I see that it's already 25 minutes. So I'm sending you guys so much love. Thank you for watching. I'm in so much appreciation for you guys. I love to read your comments. It gives me a lot of strength in knowing that I'm in the right place, and really I feel like this is something that is above me. It's something that is coming through me, and I'm hoping that I'm doing it justice and being in service to it. um, but I feel like I am dedicated to this journey, and I'm also on the journey with you all and figuring it out on the way. And there's always those ups and downs, and I also um, receive strength from doing this. So I really appreciate it. Sending you guys so much love. Thank you.